Welcome to Divine Speech in African Traditionalism. Divine Speech is participating in the celebration of 100 years of the life and afterlife of the father of African nationalism, Osagyefo, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. This celebration calls for active members of the Convention People's Party, the CPP, the party which Nkrumah led and brought about Ghana's independence and Africa's liberation, to talk about the significance of this celebration as well as their plans to regain power and renew Africa's glory. With me today is Professor Edmund Nkansah, an executive of the CPP of North America. Professor Nkansah, welcome to Divine Speech.
Thank you, my brother, for having me.
Please tell us a little bit about yourself and how you came to hold this enviable position in the CPP.
Well, again, thank you. And it is my pleasure to let you know how I came about joining the CPP and to acquire this position that I am in today, being an executive member of the party. I was born and raised in Ghana, West Africa. Mm-hmm. I was once in the Ghana Armed Forces. Right. After I left the Ghana Armed Forces, I came down to the United States to better my life. Right. I came down in 1979 after the so-called revolution. Okay. And I took all these manual jobs in the United States. And as I was struggling in life, I decided to go back to school. So I went back to college. Of course, I went to College of Staten Island, which is part of the CUNY system, or City University system of New York, where I hold my graduate studies from, and where I got my graduate degree also from. Okay. I was invited by a friend, Dr. Asante, who is the executive chairperson of the Convention People's Party, USA, okay, to a meeting, and that's how I got hooked to the party.
Beautiful. Professor Nkansah, you, the CPP, Ghanaians, Africans at home, and those abroad are celebrating the 100 years of the birthday of this illustrious leader, Osagyefo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. How does it feel in your position to notice the outpouring of support in this regard?
Well, as we celebrate the birthday of the great son of Africa and debating about the political struggles that shape Nkrumah's life and legacy, we are touched. And I am personally overwhelmed with the outpouring and support of freedom lovers throughout the universe who have been showing appreciation of what Kwame Nkrumah was and it still is, and the love that our brothers in diaspora, especially those living in Harlem, the seat of the Black liberation movement, have shown to the CPP. We are honored to be in the midst of our brothers who have honored Kwame Nkrumah, not just on local level, but on the national and international level, by giving Kwame Nkrumah a place in the Senate in in New York Senate.
Right.
It was a recognition that Nkrumah is truly the great son of Africa.
Beautiful. Professor Nkansah, who was Kwame Nkrumah? When was he born and where in Ghana?
I'm glad that you've asked that question. Kwame Nkrumah was a prophet of rarity, a politician whose political work took the form of proactive to raise the consciousness of the masses. Kwame Nkrumah was a liberator who got his people out of the yoke of colonialism. Kwame Nkrumah was born on the 21st of September 1909 at Nkrofo in the Nzema district of Western region in Ghana. His birthplace made him an Akan.
Right.
He belongs to the Akan group. Both parents, Madam Nyaneba and Papa Kofi Nkrumah, were also from Nzema area.
Right.
So Kwame is a pure Akan.
Okay. I read somewhere some time ago that there were 4 individuals, maybe 5, who influenced Nkrumah's life or shaped Nkrumah's thinking. Dr. Agri, Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe, C.L.R. James, W.E.B. Du Bois, and Marcus Garvey. Who were these individuals and why did Nkrumah select them to follow their footsteps?
Well, I don't think a man will always select a man that he will follow their footsteps or would like to indulge in their company. If they have any character that is not suitable in human society. Kwame did not choose to be in this group's company, but rather he chose to study from them and from the work that Dr. Agri, for instance, did. Agri was a great African scholar whose work and inspirational speaking influenced Kwame Nkrumah's thought to move down to the United States to further his education. Dr. Azikiwe, for instance, was the same person who introduced Dr. Nkrumah to W.E.B. Du Bois and Marcus Garvey.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, Kwame Nkrumah met C.R. James on the 5th Pan-African movement, which was held in Manchester, UK.
Okay.
Of all the people that we spoke of, I think personally, it was Marcus Garvey's work and organizational skills that Kwame duplicated or copied with him and took down to change the course of our freedom fighting in Ghana, West Africa.
I see.
If you look at our flags, for instance, the Ghana flags, the colors of the Ghana flags were the same flags, the same colors which Marcus Garvey was using for his movement in the United States. If you look at our star, the black star in our flag, for instance, it was an idea that Marcus Garvey had also coined, that the black man has to shine. Hence the reason why Kwame always had a place in his heart of hearts for Marcus Garvey and W.E. Du Bois. They were 2 great influential politicians or philosophers of his time or of our time who influenced Kwame Nkrumah dearly.
I see. There is a slogan in our community which goes like this: no justice, no peace. What was it that came out of the Berlin Conference of 1884, which made Nkrumah and other freedom fighters so mad to the point that they knew no peace?
Well, I'm glad you've asked this question once again. Let's put apples into apples box and put oranges into oranges box. From historical perspective, the reason why the First World and Second World War came about was the result of the 1884 Berlin Conference. At this conference, the fate of Africa was at stake. European powers at this moment decided to cave Africa for themselves. This was after the slave trade, which both Portugal and Spain, the 2 Iberian superpowers of that time, with the presence of the Pope and the Roman Catholic, got themselves deeply into. Yes, we have history here. I know it's very tedious. When you get the church and everybody in, people are going to say, oh, wait a minute. What's this brother talking about? Well, those were the remote causes of this the First and Second World War.
Right.
But the immediate cause was the assassination of the Archduke of Austria
Right.
in 1914, which precipitated the World War.
Right.
Let's go back to your question.
Okay.
Why these people, or the African freedom fighters, got mad? When Kwame Nkrumah came down to the United States to be educated, he didn't just sit down thinking about math, science, or whatever other subjects. He read history too.
Right.
Kwame came across all what I just made mention of.
Okay.
So those freedom fighters, when they came back to Africa, they realized that God didn't create the black man to be a subservient to the white racist groups.
Right.
Therefore, when they came to Africa and the World War was going on or had just ended, they decided that, well, if the world went to war against fascism, then they will equate colonialism and racism to fascism. Therefore, if there was to be peace in the world, then colonialism has to end.
I see. My goodness. You and I know, and most Ghanaians know, that the UGCC started fighting the British until Dr. Nkrumah returned home. What happened? How did the formation of the CPP change things for the better towards our freedom?
Well, another misconception here. Let's straighten up history.
Okay.
People have always believed that when Kwame Nkrumah came to Ghana, or the then Gold Coast, there was something known as the UGCC.
Okay.
It is a myth.
Right.
There was no UGCC. Rather, there were political pressure groups, like the League or the Gold Coast League, which was packed with members of the legislative body or the representatives of the legislative body, which Dr. Dankwa, Akufo-Addo, and others were part of it.
I see.
And there was the Gold Coast Association of Business People, which Park Grant and others were also part of it. There was the Fanti Confederation, which started in the 1800s.
Okay.
There was the the Native Ga Association or Confederation.
Okay.
There was the Fanti or Fantiman Association,
Okay.
which later on changed to be the Aborigines Protective Society.
Okay.
It was these groups which today we would think about them as pressure groups, which were operating when Nkrumah came in at the invitation of those who were in the legislative group
Okay.
to come and help form what became the UGCC.
I see.
Because let's put it in this way, if there was anything like UGCC existing, who was the secretary?
You tell me.
Who was the president by then?
Right.
It was after the formation of the UGCC that Dr. Dankwa was chosen to preside over the organization.
I see.
So it was these fragmented organizations that came together to form what is known as the UGCC.
I see. Yeah, now I agree with you, because we just learned from the history books that Nkrumah came and took over as secretary of the UGCC.
No.
Now, from who?
From who?
So that is a question mark right there.
Yes.
Most Ghanaians can quote Dr. Nkrumah verbatim. This popular quote, "The independence of Ghana is meaningless unless it is linked up with the total liberation of the African continent." How powerful was this message, and how was it received by European powers who imposed this brutal system on the African continent?